Why, hello everybody, this is Randy Andy here, and today we are going to be talking about a topic I think hasn't really been talked about much on YouTube and needs to be talked about, and that is what games have over movies. And when I say that, I'm talking about games like Mass Effect 2, Uncharted, The Last of Us, and it's mostly because I think games don't get their fair share of credit when it comes to narrative experiences. First thing I would point out is how attached you get to these characters. Now this is because of something called parasocial relationships, which was started when black and white TV first came out. It was a study conducted and it just talked about the relationships that you build with characters on the screen. And that still exists today in TV, but it's taken a much further leap forward in games, for the reason that in games you often are directly doing what the character is meant to be doing in the narrative experience. You are controlling them, so you almost feel like you are an extent of that character, which you don't feel in movies because you aren't. That's an actor, and sure, there's actors in games, but you are controlling this character, even more so in games like Mass Effect, because you literally control every major choice this character has to make and shape the story by it. And that's part of how you grow to love these characters so much more. The second thing I'd like to talk about, these all kind of link together in a way, is how long games are, or at least narrative experiences. Sure, you have a few like 3-hour ones, 6-hour ones like Spec Ops: The Line, right? But that was still a massive hard hitter. But most narrative game experiences are at least 10 hours or more. 10 hours, 15 hours, 20 hours, 25 hours. Depends what you do, depends how long you spend. Now, the great thing about that is I've always seen narrative experiences in games as more like books. Not necessarily like Harry Potter long, but like almost short stories, maybe around 300, 400 pages. That you get more than you ever can in a movie. In terms of character development, in terms of what actually happens, what transpires, and that's just because of the amount of time you've got in the game. So by the time you reach the end of the 15-hour experience, you can often feel like much more has happened in those 15 hours than those 2 hours in the movie. And that, besides the fact of getting like terrible directors and stuff, that's part of the reason why video game movies don't always pan out, because they try to stuff like 2 hours of things into what was originally 15 hours. And that kind of segues me into my next point, which is about character development. I honestly think, especially today, as video games get better, characters get better, the voice actors get better, they're in higher demand, more people want to be voice actors because video games are getting more respected. I feel like character development is better than character development in movies a lot of the times, and that does have to do with the time aspect, as I've said. And this is mostly because the time is so much longer, so by the time you get to the end of a game, it can often feel like it's in like the second movie already when it comes to a movie. And you do get game stories which are full trilogies. So imagine how much character development has gone on there by the third movie, just because there's so much rich content, there's so much character development, so many character moments. And with all of that, since you're playing a vital role, you're not just on the wayside like you are in a movie. When, say, a character dies or something, you often can feel responsible, you feel way more attached to that character, especially in a game like Mass Effect 2, where your choices matter. You can literally end the game having killed half your crew and yourself. So if that happens, you feel directly responsible. Whereas if that happens in a movie, if you like the characters, you might shed a few tears, you might shed 1 or 2 tears, nothing might happen even. But it's a much bigger impact in games because you can get that and you can feel, damn, this was my fault. Whereas in a movie, it's like, it's that character's fault. The relationships you can build, or the parasocial relationships you can build when you're in a game is, as I've said, nothing compared to in a movie. There is a character in The Last of Us called Ellie, and Ellie has got to be one of the best female protagonists of all time. And the reason people love her so much is because you play Joel, the almost father figure. Not the biological father, but he is basically the father figure for Ellie, and you watch their relationship grow. And to an extent, you are controlling Joel, so in a way you feel like you are Joel, in a way. Not completely, because Joel, it's a very linear experience in terms of narrative, but there are little things that Ellie does that makes you feel like you two are connecting in some way. And by the end of the game, I felt very protective over Ellie, and I know many people who felt the same way. You feel very protective over Ellie, almost like she's your own daughter or little sister or something, right? That by the time I got near the end, there was this group called the Hunters, at least I think they're called the Hunters, and they start attacking you. This isn't a spoiler, I'm just gonna graze over it. And basically what happens is they start attacking you. And by this time the game had gone on for so long that I felt really protective over Ellie. Some of my friends who have had very similar experiences of when those people came, you'd been playing for so long that like you were literally just saying under your breath like, don't touch my Ellie kind of stuff, because you felt so protective of that character. And that's the effect video game narratives can have on a person, which can't happen in a movie. I'm sorry, it just can't. I mean, like, if you watch a movie, you get attached to a character for like 2 days in your mind, and then they come back to you every now and then like, oh, I really like that character. But Ellie from The Last of Us, I've been thinking about her like every day. Not like extensively, but like maybe once before I go to bed, I'm like, that was a really well written character. That was extremely well written, and that was just a great way to interact with that character. Like, I can't get Ellie out of my head just because of how well it was done and how it made you feel like you were connected to this essentially AI, well, NPC, and granted there was mocap actors, so there was actual human interaction there, but at the end of the day it's not a real person in terms of the character. So it's amazing that you can have that sort of experience with an NPC. And another big thing that I think is extremely vital is that the video game industry is much newer than the movie industry, especially in a narrative sense. Properly narrative games only started coming out maybe 1998, 2000, and they've only, you know, they've been fleshing out, a mocap only became a thing really around 2005 maybe. And that makes video game narratives a lot more free than the Hollywood ones, or even not even Hollywood, just movies in general, because they are much more micromanaged to like 15 people in suits, like to the book. Whereas in games, there's a lot more freedom going on there in terms of the writing aspect and the acting aspect, because it's a lot more freed up. It really depends on the company running this narrative, obviously, but generally there is more freedom there because it's such a new environment, and it hasn't gotten to the point yet where it's just being micromanaged by like 20 people in suits at a round table. So yeah guys, ultimately I love my movies. I do, I really do. Movies are awesome, but I think games in terms of narrative experiences honestly do have a leg up on them in a lot of ways, in a lot of important ways. I mean, I feel way more for Ellie and Commander Shepard than I have for any movie character. I honestly just wanted to talk about this because I felt that games weren't given their fair due in terms of narrative experiences. I mean, many people have experienced them and acknowledge that that is the case, but it hasn't really been publicized on YouTube yet. Granted, I'm not really a big YouTuber, so I don't really think many people are going to see this, but I still wanted to just speak my mind on it, because it does kind of annoy me that at times people look at game stories and like, games. Games. Anyway guys, if you enjoyed this video, please remember to like, subscribe, and comment down below your thoughts on this. I really like discussing it with you guys. Also share it with your friends just to get the word out about movies and games and what games has over movies. And maybe I'll do something about what movies has over games, like it being a more concise experience. Anyway guys, this has been Randy Andy, and I will see you in the next one.